to our podcast, Safe Space. This is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor D. And I hope that you tuned into part one with Brian. My goodness, I'm learning so much stuff, taking notes, and I've seen it in action. So I'm not new to the story, but these nuggets are flying off the rock. And I hope that you are listening, and I hope you're being challenged with your perception, your mentality. And I hope that you know you can do a redo. You can get it right because our generation and this nation and the world needs what we're talking about. Because if the home is in disrepair, our whole country will be in disrepair. You think it starts in the political office. It starts in the family, as God intended it. He started the first family. And I think God knows what he's saying. So we're going to continue the conversation. And you have to listen to get part one. I'm not going to cheat you out of listening to part one. It's all that good. And so, Brian, let's pick up the conversation. We were talking about authority.
Yes.
And we were talking about that your relationship with people in your household and with authority should align with your biblical principle if you're a believer and a
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
So come on, let's frame this house now. We've set the foundation. You didn't want to get married. You got married. At first sight, it still works
Mm-hmm.
that you saw the woman of your dreams in your dreams. There are a lot of beautiful women. You're a handsome man, assured man, a businessman at the time. So you could have the pick of the litter, but you told your wife, even though you're beautiful, I'm not marrying you for your beauty
Mm-hmm.
because I can find them at the gas station. Man,
In
that's
Miami.
in
You can't find them at any gas station. You gotta. I've been in every state
yeah,
and I've been to 26 nations.
yes.
Okay? There's some ugly folks. Okay, there's some ugly people on there. I won't even tell you where the ugliest people are because they might be listening. But listen, there are some ugly people. Okay?
And thank God we're not in that
No. No one's here. Listen, and I mean, there's some people so ugly it's a distraction. You're like, you get to go into other countries, you look at that people, you're like, golly.
And so we're talking about authority, and we got to frame it because we have a short time, and I know your time is valuable. And I just want to thank you because this is imperative. This is imperative to the older people that are thinking they're winding down in their marriage. Because if you're winding down in life, you're winding down in everything.
Yes.
And if we don't throw the baton to our children or to those that are impressionable or to those that we influence, because we do influence people with our lifestyle, with our conversation, you talk to us about Paul. Continue that conversation for me.
So Paul, he's going down Damascus Road, right?
Yes.
Bright light, all this stuff. Direct conversation with Jesus.
Yes.
He goes blind. Jesus says, go to the house of Ananias, right? And what occurs is Jesus says the first thing you're going to do is know that you're going to do what you're told. He's going to tell you what to do. You have a direct relationship with me, and that's not going to be enough. You're going to go over there with Ananias. So when Ananias lays hands on him, the scales come off. The first thing Paul sees is the authority of the church.
Wow.
That's the first thing. If you know God, you know authority. When you get people...
Wait a minute. If you know God...
You know authority. There's no other way. So all authority is of God. It's ordained of God. So
Yes.
that doesn't mean everyone in office is put there by God. It means authority was designed by God.
Yes.
We try to act like, then why you want Kim Jong-un out of there? if God puts everybody in office, why you want Kim Jong-un out? Why you want to get rid of the Ayatollah
Yes.
in Iran?
Yes.
So that's not what it means, and we know it. So it means that God ordained authority. So when you know God, you know authority.
Yes.
That authority goes from the church to the governments. They're all imitating that authority, and then obviously into the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now bringing it back to marriage with your wife, and now you have kids in the mix because you didn't have your daughter yet.
Yeah. That's my thing right there.
Yeah. Well, let's not even go there yet. We're talking about marriage because you're head over heels with another woman, another girl. So no, but you're talking about authority. How did you mold that to be the authority in the home?
Service.
Service.
That's it. I mean, I served her, and that's it. I mean, there was nothing. Obviously, she was a new believer also.
Yes.
So it's not like we were, and then I was her parents. But I served her. I'm not here to lord over her. I'm here to serve her. So
What does that look like?
Like not telling her no. Doing what's in my power to make sure she's well. That's what Jesus does. So he loves and cherishes the church. It doesn't talk much about the church loving and cherishing him in that scripture.
Right.
In Ephesians, it talks about what he does for the church.
Yes.
So that's the model. The man leads the way or not. Right? If he can't serve her, if he can't, and obviously.
But he's a punk if he serves her.
Oh man, I don't know about that. Listen, no. He's a punk if he's getting punked, right? I mean, if you got Rasputia, you remember? I mean, if you got Rasputia, then obviously that can happen.
Yeah, but for a woman, talking from a woman's perspective, to relinquish, or don't need to relinquish, but to put under, or to come under, there has to be a sense of security.
Oh yeah.
Sureness, feeling of love, affirmation, and total abandonment. So then her worship to you should equal her passion to the Lord.
It does. It does.
So that's true worship.
It's true worship. She honors when it says submitting to them as unto the Lord, right? When it talks about the wife, talks about Sarah,
Yes.
right? All of that is a reflection of the relationship with God. All of that is that reflection. I mean, it doesn't tell the story of Sarah because Sarah's not the father of the faith. But you have to believe that God dealt with Sarah about this coming child.
Of course.
Right? That she understood there was a promise also.
Of course.
She interacted.
Of
right?
course.
So it doesn't tell her story because of this is Eve.
Yes,
Sarah,
that's
right? And I think I'm the beneficiary of that in my house. I'm the beneficiary of the fact that my wife is a praying woman, that my wife is a holy woman. So who she is makes it easy to be.
Yeah, but you have to cultivate that.
You do.
Because if you were a brute and wielding commands and setting something contrary to your biblical principles, then there would be struggles.
There could be. There very well could be. But like I said, my wife has never yelled at me. I remember when I first wanted the motorcycle. Okay. And my wife is an expert at handling me.
You?
Oh, she's an expert. She knows how to do it.
No, you?
She knows it.
Oh, come on.
She knows where all the buttons are.
Yeah. How she know that?
Listen, I don't know. You got to get her on the show. She has
because a little birdie told me. Because a little birdie told me that you'll come into the bed, into the home, in your birthday suit.
Hey, I'm trying to get
every day.
I'm trying to get it.
Every night.
Every day. I start foreplay in the morning. First thing in the morning, I'm buttering that bread. Just buttering the bread.
Every night.
I try to.
Every morning.
I try to.
And you come in your birthday suit.
I'm coming in my birthday suit, butt naked.
Every night.
Every night. Butt naked. Except that time. Hey, we're trying, somebody. Now the older I get, the I get more tired now. Okay, but we alive over there.
Yeah, we alive.
Oh,
You're alive.
We alive. I mean, obviously you have the woman's cycle, but
yeah,
man, we doing it, 4 or 5 times a week. Easy. Easy. And that's one of the benefits of her being home.
Yes.
You know, so those ebbs and flows, my wife is there for them all. If she was at work, she wouldn't be there for the ebbs and flows, the hormonal changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some benefit. And we, you know, children didn't even make us hit a speed bump. My children don't sleep with us. They never have.
Yeah.
None of that. None of that. We got a lock on the door.
Yeah. And you set the stage.
We set the stage.
So you both are being loved and it's unencumbered and just reckless abandonment within the context and the confine of loving and discovering and honoring.
Well, and I'll tell you this. So
Yes.
sex and marriage,
Yes.
it's the only thing exclusive.
Hmm.
See, right now I can go out with Bishop Rick. We
Yes.
can go to dinner.
Yes.
No sin. Right? I can hang out. You know, I have best friends,
Yes.
right? They meet some social needs. My wife and I, if we weren't married, we wouldn't be friends.
Say that again.
If my wife and I were not married, we would not be friends.
Why is that?
We are completely different.
Okay.
We are 100% different. I'd have been in sin too, because I would have hit that and I would have broke her heart. She's fine too. She's worthy now.
Yeah.
She's worthy of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So what happens is we wouldn't be friends. And that's one of the things that enhance our marriage.
Yes.
Is my wife doesn't ask me to fill roles that I don't fill, and I don't ask her to fill roles. So if I want to go out for wings, that doesn't have to be a trip with my wife. If my wife wants to go shopping, that doesn't have to be a trip with her husband.
Right, because I mean, you come home and you're in your birthday suit after you do all that.
Yeah, you're out there, you come back to be together, right? So I know during the days of Oprah Winfrey, we pretended like the husband and wife had to be friends. Do you know that's not in the Bible anywhere?
Well, you're just stepping on some toes.
Yeah, so, you know, that's the Oprah day. She wrecked marriages, right? She wrecked marriages
Yes.
with her show.
Yes.
Because she had women thinking that, and I say women because it was geared towards women,
Yes.
that if your husband wasn't your best friend, there was something wrong with your marriage.
So you're womanizing him.
Yeah.
Feminizing
You
him.
have to, because how else you gonna be friends? Friends, you know, you gotta be, you know, friends share a particular interest. The interests of my wife and I they're not football.
Yeah.
It's not Krav Maga. Our interests are different. So those male interests, who do I carry that out with? Friends.
It's good.
So, you know, people are like, your spouse has to be your best friend. That's not the job. If they are, that's even better.
Yes.
Okay. If you and your spouse are best friends and you're good friends, that's even better. That's like a little cherry, but it's not the job description.
Okay. What's the job description?
The job is for him to serve and care for you. That's the job. That's his job, to serve you, care for you, protect you, all of those oaths at the altar. He makes those promises at the altar. He made those promises throughout your engagement period. That is his job description. You accepted that. And then now you're married. Now you got to be best friends. No, not best friends. You don't like what I like. You don't do what I do.
And it's okay.
It's great. It's great. And that's why it's important to know who's around you. Because that's where the rest of that life is lived out.
Okay.
Right? So the only thing exclusive, I mean, I haven't been alone with another woman in 23 years. When I say alone, I mean behind a closed door.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
Right?
The standard though.
A woman can't even give me a ride.
The standard though.
That's the standard.
Yeah.
And because if you make exceptions, you make the wrong one day.
You say that.
And if there's an accusation, that's as bad as doing it.
You say that too.
So we can't,
Fraternize.
yeah, we can't do that.
We can't do that.
No. And I'm talking about my best friends. Their wives can't even give me a ride to the airport.
That's correct.
So we don't have that confusion. The only thing exclusive to marriage is sex. Everything else, in theory, I can do without it being a sin.
Right.
You could, in theory, meet a woman for a cup of coffee. It's not a sin. In theory.
In theory.
Right? In theory. So sex is exclusive. So you have to, literally, when you come together as marriage, you consummate marriage with sex.
Okay.
So if sex is the only thing exclusive to marriage, what do you think keeps you married? Sex.
Yeah.
There is no marriage that falls apart because of money. That's such a lie.
Why you say that? I thought money was the biggest issue.
Man, there's poor people married all over the world. Right?
Okay.
Poor people married all over the world. No matter where you go, you got a bunch of poor people with great marriages
And a lot of babies.
and a lot of babies.
And
That's it.
they're happy.
Yes. Now what happens is when people's money gets funny, particularly in America,
Yes.
they stop having sex. And when they
Hmm.
stop having sex, the marriage starts dying.
Mm.
It's not the money. It's when the kitchen makes its way into the bedroom. That's when the marriage begins to die. Poor people all over the world are happily married for decades.
Yes.
So it's not money, it's sex. Because sex is the exclusive thing. That's what you come together and the two shall be one.
Yeah.
You have to come together, come together, come together, come together, come together.
So you cannot, it's illegal to use sex as a tool.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that.
That's
can't
even
do that.
ungodly
It's ungodly.
because you're denying the one thing that causes you to come together. So if
Yes.
you're not coming together, you're not worshiping.
You're not. You can't do it. If you don't come together, you can't do it. The marriage will not work. And when I say come together, I don't mean 4 or 5 times. That might be bondage for me, okay? You know, people like, hey, that might be bondage.
Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea. Coming together, when I say coming together in marriage and having sex, that means vibrant by whatever definition
Yes.
your home has,
Yes.
right? So if that, I imagine that as I age, my wife ages, that definition is going to change for
Of
us,
course.
right? But whatever that definition is, that coming together has to happen.
Yeah. But I see you playfully tapping her.
You have to.
You kiss her, you hug her, you sport with her, you do all that. So when we're talking about coming together, and even though it's your foreplay, your daily interaction, it's almost for people that don't do it.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit much because they haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
And they get uncomfortable with such public display with your spouse. So talk to us about that because we've moved away. And in the break, we were talking about how this is maintained. And if we're going to save a generation, if you're going to introduce your children to marriage, you've already started in the home. You've already set the groundwork. But what about people that haven't seen that modeled?
I think you just, if you're Christian,
Yes.
and particularly if you're not Christian, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, before I was a Christian, I did whatever I wanted to do. You are free from the law of righteousness. Be free. Okay, so I don't try to get non-Christians.
Because sinners sin.
Yeah, that's
Sinners
what it
sin.
is.
Yes.
And it's not even. I mean, it's just. What you
It
do.
is what it is.
I think as a Christian, you have to make things practical. So, for instance, laying on of hands.
Yes.
Laying on of hands, we picture that only as a ceremony, but that implies touch. Right? So, and I've been talking about this for years.
Yes.
There's an article that came out, I forgot when, it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, but couples that, the more couples touch, the happier they are.
Yeah. Oxytocin.
Yeah, we think they're happy, so they touch.
Mm-mm.
No, they touch, so they're happy.
So it's released in the brain.
Yes.
God made it like that.
God made it like that.
God
So-
made it like that. So the more you
Yes.
touch is the more you feel and the more joy starts to overflow because it's a chemical.
Yes. This is God designed us this
That's
way.
God's design.
Well, guess what? There's only one person you're supposed to be touching.
What? You can't be touching people
No, you can't just
unless
be
your
touching
spouse.
people. No,
And you can touch her anytime,
anytime.
any place, because you're not touching anybody else.
That's it.
And so she's used to your touch.
She's used to it.
And your children,
She almost ignores it now. She just used to it.
yeah, I know.
Because I'm a booty patter.
I know you. I see you all the time. And she just smile.
Well, I don't have one. So my wife. It's why men and women get together. We're
Yeah.
completely different, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've got my own hairy legs,
Yes,
right? My skin is hard.
yes,
Her skin is soft. Her legs are smooth, and so I can't wait to touch her
yeah.
because
It's
without
different.
her, yes, it's different. Without her, I can't experience that
Hmm.
because she is different.
Yeah,
Right? I can touch myself. I don't have what she has. So
Yes.
when that comes around, it's something I've been deprived of
yeah,
for however long.
yeah.
And then
You reach and touch.
I reach and touch.
And so now your children are watching that framework of, and they know what normalcy looks like.
Mhm.
They know how you handle her and care for her. And your sons know how she handles you. And so they're getting both sides of the coin. And even your community, your community, I watch them because, we get to come
Mhm.
to the fellowships and we see they all are touchy-feely.
They all touchy-feely.
They're all kissing and touching and loving and looking at their spouses, and they
Can't wait.
can't wait and make a lot of babies, and they've been doing that stuff, and they're all in their birthday suit.
They're all in their birthday suit, hopefully. Hopefully. We're
But they
hoping.
got a lot of babies.
Yeah, they got a lot of babies. But even the older couples, I mean, they're the same.
I know.
They just, I mean, I think more than anything, the Christian
Yes.
has to be free to be Christian. So less is more. We put so many parameters in. And if you let the Christian just be free, they're going to be like Christ.
Yeah.
And so they're going to love, they're going to nurture, they're going to cherish, all of those things. And I'm into being like Christ. One day my wife's going to get older. Jesus said that his bride will be without spot and without wrinkle.
Yes.
I said, me too. Get over and pull that thing back. Right?
It's just gonna happen just like that.
We pay for it.
You pay.
We'll pay for it. Go ahead. If Jesus is gonna have a bride without wrinkle, me too.
Me too. and so let's just encourage the young men and young women
Yes.
that are struggling about whether they want to get married.
Get married.
You said it so quickly.
Get married. There's no downside to it. Literally, even in the natural, economically, marriage is the single most powerful economic generator on earth.
You got me there.
It's a fact.
I'm
If
leaning
you want
in.
upward mobility in life, get married. So now, I mean, it's the bills, it's everything. Everything comes together. Expenses are cut in half. Income is doubled. There's nothing like it. Forget the stock market. Get married. You want to live a better life? Get married. Married men are healthier. We live longer. It's great. There's no downside. When you get into God's design, because God gave marriage to humans, not to Christians. So marriage is a human thing, not a Christian thing. We just get to exemplify Christ in the church.
Mm-hmm.
But marriage is human.
Yes.
Get married. Every culture. Get married. If you get married, things will be better for you.
And
Two
how
is better than one.
two is better than one. That's good. And what word of wisdom would you give to, still have one daughter
Mhm.
that's unmarried and who's not ready. Have told me I'm ready
Mhm.
to now get married, and have asked for some examples from you and for you to come talk to them because she likes what she see. When you have a legal mind,
Yes.
you inspect everything.
Yes.
And one of the things that, our girls have talked about is how you've handled your wife. And they have seen that in like, wait a minute, this is how it could look, should look. And we're not talking about perfection and all that. We're talking about striving in the same manner of being gentle and kind and affectionate. And she's free to be her because you've loved her freely.
Mhm.
And she's loved you freely.
She can't
Because you're
lose
still
me.
prickly.
She can't lose me though.
She can't lose you.
My wife could become a whore on the corner
All right, talk to me about that.
and I wouldn't divorce her
Why not?
because God hates divorce. That's it. That's
You
all it
take
is.
her back?
Yeah.
You'd be Gomer.
I talk about it like a hoe. She's probably gonna want to divorce me by the time I finish talking, right? But I will not divorce my wife. There's nothing. She can leave me because she's free to do that. But no, God hates divorce. I exist for his pleasure. That's why I'm here. I am not free to divorce. Jesus said, you can get a divorce, but this was for the hardness of your heart.
Yes.
That's not a compliment.
No, it's not.
No.
Is your Christian walk was challenged and your foundation was cracked because you ran out of forgiveness, not out of love.
And it's the most lethal of blows, because remember, it's the covenant that you only share with God. So I'm not suggesting that the word doesn't say what it says. It says you can get a divorce,
Of course.
right? So I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying there's a difference between what you're allowed to do and what pleases God.
Say that again.
There's a difference between what you're allowed to do and what pleases God.
So if the spouses were honoring one another, talking gently, if you were in the servant business of service and you showed up in your birthday suit because of the commonality of coming together with sex and coming together, that's the only legal part that sets you apart, and preferring one another and not marring and scarring, but bringing out the best in a person, then we have something going on. So we wouldn't want to run from good, would we?
I wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't want to be divorced if you're being loved until it's coming out your throat,
That's right.
and if you're being caressed, and if you're being honored and feel secure, and your masculinity is not challenged, your femininity is not challenged, your manhood is not challenged. There's no idle words that's being spoken towards one another. You're following the biblical principle. So you wouldn't want to get divorced. The other thing we touched on at the break, we talked about the Abrahamic flow.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us before we run out of time in the Abrahamic flow of some things that have been fractured.
Well, I think so. Abraham, he dwelt in tents with Isaac and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
So in America, we're a nation of economic refugees.
Okay.
People live where they live for money.
Hmm.
And that includes living where you live for money, even if it means leaving the geographical location of your family.
Wow.
And I think it's a design of Satan. What happens? Young man, young woman, North Carolina, they graduate, they go to college. One goes to college in Michigan, the other one goes to college in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So then they meet their spouse there who came there from Oregon.
Yeah.
So now Microsoft offers them a job in Washington.
Yeah.
And they leave.
No foundation.
No foundation. They leave their family. My mother-in-law lives with us. She's lived with us since like a year after marriage. Nothing but an advantage.
And no problems with that.
Yes. I don't have any problem. Treats me real good.
No feeling like she's intruding.
No.
No overstepping.
No, she never has.
No abuse.
Nope.
Didn't feel she needed to protect her daughter from you.
No.
I mean, it works beautifully.
It works. I mean, it works. We have to get back to the family, but the foundation of family is marriage. If there is no marriage, there's no family foundation.
Yes.
It just doesn't exist. You have a family, but it has no foundation. It's going to be moved in every direction, right? Once you have marriages, then you have a foundation that family can move on because there's trust there. So someone said to me, this is a good friend of mine from way back in the day. He said, he told his children, they go out on date night. I don't do a date night, but they did date night. And his son would say, how come I can't go? And he would say, because I love you. And basically, the security of your children is all rooted in the health of your marriage.
Wow.
And so that's where, I've just been surrounded by great people who gave me these little nuggets. My children can be well, my family can be well because my marriage is well. That is their stability.
Yes.
Right? If the foundation are destroyed, what can the righteous do? If the foundation is destroyed, what can the family do? So it's a principle all the way through. So we have to put marriages back together. If you want dad involved, we talk about all these fatherless children. Well, because they're marriageless children. So we talk about children conceived outside of marriage, but imagine the child is now marriageless.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just that he was conceived outside of marriage and he's good and he exists, no matter how dynamic his father and mother might be. The child is now without marriage, which means the child is without a foundation. It doesn't matter how much
Ah,
dad
that
comes
was
around.
so cool, Chef.
Yeah, but what about the family that's together, but the children are seeing no examples because they can't wait to get out of the chaos?
Yeah, there's some of that too. He didn't
How
look
do
at
we
him and
handle
say,
that? Because now the child who is going to be the next generation
Mhm.
is now going to perpetuate what was demonstrated. Are we talking about Christians? Remember, the world do what the world does.
Yeah.
So how do we address that? Okay, so now you have these dysfunctional marriages, raising children, going to church,
Mhm.
and the child don't want your God, and they don't want to be married based on the example.
Well, I think we have to start at the first statement.
Okay.
Why accuse them of being Christian? Why would we accuse them of that? It's obvious they're not. They don't care what God thinks about how they treat their spouse.
What? Say that again.
Yeah, why accuse them of being Christian? They're not.
Somebody will challenge you on that.
They can.
And your response would be?
Prove it. So nowhere in the Bible does it say I have to take someone's word for it that they're Christian. That's an American get along gang thing. I don't do that. You know, in Iran or Iraq, imagine those Christians can't just invite you into church because you say you're Christian. They get everybody killed.
Yeah.
It's only in America that we pretend like, who are you to say someone's not Christian? Literally, this is the only place I've ever been, other than Europe,
Yeah.
that we pretend like you can't, like the church doesn't determine who the church is. We do determine it.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a very Western culture thing.
Mhm.
You know, like
We westernized.
we Westernize it because we have a great society.
Yes.
So, and we have a society that's been Christianized.
Yes.
So it's just love your neighbor, don't judge, right?
Yeah.
Except you have to. So I don't accuse people of being Christian. I think the Christian is rare.
Hmm.
I think people professing Christianity is normal, and I don't even think they're insincere about it. But the idea that someone is born of God, living for God, I think that's rare. Born of God. I mean, that's a transaction between a man and heaven.
Wow.
If that transaction happened, we know, however imperfectly they are, or they express that. But we would know. There is a difference. They have a new heart. They have the law written in their heart. They don't hate the word of God. Even if they find it difficult to do it, Paul said in the inner man, I delight after it. So you have the law written in your heart. You don't hate, no man hates himself, right? That's what it says.
Yes.
No man has ever hated himself. So if the law is written in your heart, you don't wage war against the law, which is what we see in the church today.
Yeah.
Everybody, they accuse of being legalistic. You know, they say it's the law, that's the law. Well, if it was a part of you, you wouldn't hate it. So that's the first thing. That God puts the law in your heart. He gives you a heart of flesh. That is not like, that's not a dime a dozen. Jesus said few. We don't know what few is.
Right.
Right? But Jesus said few find that path.
Yeah.
We don't want to acknowledge that. So when we have dysfunctional families amongst Christians,
Yeah.
and I don't mean imperfect people, someone with an issue. I'm talking dysfunction.
Yes. Dysfunction is dysfunction.
So I'm not saying perfection. Perfection
Dysfunction.
is the goal, right?
Yeah. If a toilet is dysfunctional,
Yes,
you can't use it.
you can't use it.
So let's talk about dysfunction. We're not talking about perfection.
Yeah.
We're talking about dysfunction. And perfection means mature. To be perfect is to be mature. So let's talk about dysfunction. Go ahead.
So if you have a Christian family,
Yes.
I think the first thing you investigate is, are they Christian? Not are they trying? Are they Christian?
Mm.
So a friend of mine up in Tennessee, he likes to say, we have in the church more convicted sinners than Christians.
Mm.
So the convicted sinner is someone who acknowledges the word of God, believes that it's right, but they haven't been transformed.
Mm.
They're under the conviction of the word, which a lot of people raised in the church are like that, right?
Yes,
They
yes.
know what the Bible says.
Yeah, and can repeat it,
Yes,
but they won't do it.
they won't do it. They know it's right. They believe it's right. They were taught that it's right. They're convicted by it,
Mhm.
but they are not
Transformed.
transformed.
Mhm.
And so we have churches full of convicted sinners. And until we're willing to confront the spiritual foundation of the individual, how can their household be well in terms of biblically well?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's sinners that have great families. So we don't want to pretend like marriage is Christian.
That's correct.
I know people who hate God and have amazing marriages.
Marriage is God.
Yes, right? So we don't want to, let's not confuse it. You know, when they were arguing about same-sex marriage with the court cases,
Yes.
the church messed it up. The church lost the argument because they tried to say it's biblical. When it's not, it's human. It's in the Bible, but marriage is human.
Yeah.
If they would have said this is human, then they would have had in their national discourse everybody in agreement, from Jewish people to Muslim people to, because it is human. Once they made it marriage is biblical,
Religious.
then those people of other religions had to take a step back. They're not going to help you perpetuate your religion.
That's correct.
So,
Which is of the devil. Again, he's going to get in there and
Yes.
and make it look like here are these fanatics
yes.
that are espousing or doing this propaganda. But if it's human,
Yes.
nobody don't want to be inhumane.
Well, and this is common sense, right? So the common sense, when people say common sense, they try to make it seem like a way of thinking.
Sex is not common.
But the word common sense, I'm going to give you something,
Yeah, you're
right? So when we say common sense, we think a way of thinking, a logical way of thinking. But no, the common sense is like commonwealth, what's the common good. So the common sense is what we all know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's the common sensing. So the common sensing is that marriage between a man and a woman, that families should be together. That's the common sensing.
Yes.
But we don't acknowledge that. We make everything religious,
Yeah.
and we don't know how to explain it to help. So the father who shows up at the game,
Mhm.
I took my sons to a camp
Yes.
Wednesday. Let's say Friday.
Mhm.
So Wednesday they went to a camp. They were invited to this camp. There's 200 kids there, 25 parents. That's what's wrong with America.
Yeah, that's a bad ratio.
That's a bad ratio. It was
Mhm.
terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all of these kids are from different schools all around the region. So not just Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
all around the region. 200 plus kids, 25 parents in the stands who stayed or gave the kid a ride. That is a reflection of what's wrong.
Mm.
A reflection of what's wrong. I can guarantee you most of those kids, they're from single families or broken families. Okay, and so
What about a working absent dad?
well, listen, I'm all for that. Go to work, brother. So it's interesting how culture is, right? So there comes a time, I believe, in children's life. My kids didn't need me to give them a bottle. There comes a time in that young man's life where he needs to be riding with me to work, right? So what happened is the dad, and I believe Christians get attacked like this. It's particularly Christians because they want to feminize us. And this is the Oprah days, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean the '80s changed our nation.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is you get a father, if he's a soldier, he goes away for a year, he fights a war, he comes back, he's a hero,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nobody calls him an absentee dad.
No.
You get a dad that works second shift from 3 to 11, so he doesn't get to see his kids much until the weekend, and we're worried about his absence.
Hmm.
Wow.
You get a father who goes to the mission field for a month, and we want to have a conversation about his family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what about your family? You didn't say that to the soldier. You didn't say that to the NFL player who's basically for 9 months a year, either at work or
On
traveling
the road.
on the road. You don't say that. So it's only Satan persecuting right. So that working dad, third shift, second shift, and that's all he can work. He needs to be at work. He doesn't need to be at the game. And he's not a bad father for not being at the game. Matter of fact, his son knows he's at work. So we take it and we twist everything. So the foundation of that child is the marriage, not the quality time with dad. The foundation is the marriage.
Mm.
We keep making it. So my wife and I don't live a child-centered life. We live a Christ-centered life.
Mhm.
Our children will never be the center of our life. Never. Never. And so it's obviously they're older now and they can all swim.
Of course.
But I'm telling you right now, when they were kids, if their mama was drowning and they were drowning, mama's getting saved first.
Of course.
You know why?
You covenant with her.
covenant with her.
You
I
covenant
promised
with her
I promised her
to do her no harm,
to do her no harm.
And
She's
to serve her.
depending on me.
to be the Christ man,
That's it.
to be the example, because she is seeing what a Christian should look like. The last thing I'm going to say is to you is, I noticed that you even kiss your boys.
Oh, I kiss them. They can't stand it. I kiss them on the lips too. I kiss them on the lips. Sometimes, a little less now, but
Yeah.
to harass them. Oh,
Yeah.
I kiss my boys up.
And why do you do that?
I just love them. Just love them. I could eat my children. I could just swallow them whole if I thought it wouldn't kill them. Right? Those are my guys, but I teach them affection.
Yeah.
And the kisses of your father. Right? So it's an affirmation. It melts them too. They try to pretend like, oh, they love it. They love it. My son got hurt on the sideline. He got hurt. He was on the sideline of his football game. And this was last year. And he got hurt. He went back in. And then he was back on the sideline again. So now I got to go see what's wrong.
Yes.
Right? So he was fine. I said, I'm checking him out. The trainer is there. And, he stands up. He's like, okay. The coach says he's not going to put him back in the game because they were winning. And, we're standing in front of the student section. And I'm like, you want me to give you a kiss? In front of all these people, I'll do it. Right? He's like, no, I'll do it right here, right now. Okay? And so it just brings him joy. He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it. And I teach them that affection. So my son, I'm raising cavemen.
Of course.
Okay, I'm raising cavemen and a princess.
Yeah.
My boys, they're like, well, how come my daughter, how come
Yeah.
she, because she's a princess, son. Yeah. So I am raising cavemen. Their wife can clean them up like my wife cleaned me up.
Yeah.
And they can see that model in my marriage. My marriage is what makes them secure, not the dad. I mean, obviously sitting down with them at practice is helpful.
Yeah.
But that's not their foundation.
Wow.
Their foundation is the well-being of my marriage.
Wow.
And they can depend on that.
And you'll never leave your wife.
I'll never leave her. Never. Never. Now, if she did something like that, she might want to leave me by the time I finish talking. But because I'm telling everybody too. Yeah. Yeah. So, but
You're going to stay.
Huh?
You're going to stay.
Oh, I will never divorce her. And that's not on her merit. That's on who Christ is in my existence for his pleasure.
Man. Wow.
We always try to make the spouse win us. Like they have to be continually winning us. No, we already have this covenant. My wife doesn't have to keep winning me.
Because she already have you.
She has me. That's it. I am hers. And she is mine. That's it.
Wow. Well, time is up again. And we've got to go. Wouldn't you like to hear more?
Mhm.
This has been so enlightening, so helpful. I have watched this couple. We get the privilege to be at their celebrations. And this is not a story. This is for real, for real. And they've had many occasions to have pretend, but we've seen them under pressure. We've seen them in business. We've seen them in their church community. And it just gets better. And as their children are growing up, it's the same consistency.
Amen.
If you're going to have a franchise, consistency is what people are looking for. And they have been consistent. And I want you to know that get married. Marriage is good. And I'm going to let Brian have the last word. Go ahead, give us last word in 1 minute.
I think you said it. Get married. Marriage is good. And I think that's the word. I think there's no loss in it. There's growth in it. I mean, you grow together, you learn to be together, you learn to become more Christ-like because your spouse knows you, right? So if you are a Christian and you're carnal at the house, your spouse knows you. Go ahead and be transformed. Don't look at that as, she's against you or he's against you. Just be transformed. Get better. There is no bad marriage. There's only bad disciples. If you honor God, your marriage will slowly but surely reflect that. And you can't lose.
Wow. Well, this is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor D, with Safe Space. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening. And I hope that your life is transformed. There's room for growth, there's room for change. And as a believer, we get discipled into becoming the perfect image reflecting Christ. Thank you.